Hello, I'm Tiffany Parks, and this is A Bittersweet Moment with Katie Sewell.
Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell, and this is your midweek bittersweet moment. But this week I am not alone. I am joined today by Jess Walter. He's the author of 9 books, most recently the national bestseller The Cold Millions and the #1 New York Times bestseller Beautiful Ruins. He also wrote The Zero, which was the finalist for the National Book Award, and Citizen Vince, winner of the Edgar Award. He's everywhere. 32 languages. Your short fiction has appeared all over the place, including 3 times in America's Best Short Stories. And you're a friend of mine. So thanks for coming on.
And a friend of the Bittersweet Life. This is my 85th appearance, I believe. I think I was first on in the late 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And as I'm reading your bio, everyone's like, we know.
Good. They should know. That's great. Well, it's great to be back.
Yes. Thanks for coming back. And I'm having you back for kind of an odd reason. So on Monday's show, we talked about me specifically getting the vaccine and how Tiffany, being in Italy, still has to wait. And something that we loosely touched on but did not really delve into is that over here in the United States, where the vaccine is everywhere and access to the vaccine has now dropped to everyone 16 and older, that we still all have people in our lives, people that we love, that do not want to get the vaccine. And we're navigating this minefield of how to talk to them about it if we personally desperately believe that they should get it. And I knew that you had an interesting interaction in this regard, and I thought it would be worth sharing.
I did, and I've had that same feeling. And, reading that some people aren't getting their second shots and 50% of groups of men don't want to get their shots. It's so frustrating to not be able to talk to people coherently about this. And one of the first conversations I had, I did not have an answer. And then I was talking to a friend who happens to be a great basketball player, played college basketball. And he was telling us about this other basketball friend who said, you're not going to get that. It hasn't been tested or this or that. And it kind of hit me. And I said to my friend, imagine if someone who knows nothing about basketball just came up and started lecturing you about the game, just how irritating that would be. That's what it sounds like when these people who are not infectious disease doctors, who are not epidemiologists, start telling you all the reasons why this vaccine doesn't work. I just think we've gotten to a place where we have to trust expertise. And when I appealed to him on a level of expertise he knew, what if someone said, what you really got to do is, dribble it twice and then throw it into the big guy. I said, it would just seem ludicrous to you. And that's how ludicrous it is, the rest of us civilians walking around talking like amateur epidemiologists when we don't know anything. The experts are so clear. Get vaccinated, wear your mask, avoid crowds. I mean, there's been almost no variants of that, except for maybe the very beginning when they were worried there weren't enough masks. But otherwise, it's been a really clear message. And, people need to trust expertise and trust their own expertise. That's the place to start.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that you described it to me, too, when you were talking to this basketball friend was these people coming and giving him advice based on something that they heard on sports talk radio, which,
right.
which is something that I really resonated with because as a person who's worked in radio for a really long time, I have had so many experiences where I've been in a conversation with someone and they have said, it's interesting, I read in an article recently, such and such a thing. And I would think, no, you didn't read that in an article. You heard that on the show that I just produced because it's different because that's everybody trying to seem literary, like we're getting our information by reading, not by hearing it from others. But it is that sort of parroting back of what you've already heard.
Yeah. And the sources we don't know what the sources are anymore. People tell me I read, something. It might have been a post on social media. And, for all the great ways in which social media has connected people, it has also made information so diffuse. And we don't know what they're talking about, what studies they're talking about. But in the midst of all that is this level of expertise that has not changed, that has been, that is really consistent about how to deal with this pandemic. And they're getting some answer on Facebook would be like a basketball coach taking his cues from sports talk radio. And I don't know if that will work in every situation, but I think as athletes, basketball players hear enough from people who haven't devoted their life to it. That I think I actually, convinced one person. So in this environment, that feels like a triumph.
Yeah, it is a triumph. Well, one last question as a writer and a long time writer of many awards and rewards from spending so much time on this craft. Do you get the same thing from people about writing?
Yeah.
People giving you advice, or I don't know what the equivalent would be.
That's a really good question. I hadn't thought of it that way. If someone said, here's how you write, I think I tend to be a little more generous toward people telling me how to write. I certainly hear from a lot of English teachers, and I have to trust them and their knowledge of grammar too. But I think everyone hears, that sort of advice, and we know to discount it and to set it aside. But me choosing to allow a comma splice to be in a sentence isn't going to kill somebody. Somebody hearing from their mechanic that they don't trust vaccine has real consequences. And much like other kinds of anti-vaccination movements, or people who don't trust climate science. I just want us to trust experts. That didn't used to be political. That used to be conservatives trusted experts just as much as liberals, and liberals trusted experts. We had a respect for expertise that I think we have to try to foster again.
Well, Jess Walter, thank you so much for joining us for this mini episode.
Thanks, Katie. It's great to be on again.
I love the technique, and perhaps those of us listening will find our own way to use it when those conversations come up.
And if not, feel free to write and give me basketball and writing tips, and maybe who knows, I'm all wrong.
Well, and until next time, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Seville. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Subscribe to the show if you haven't already, and if you love it, leave us a good review. And please tell all your friends about us. Also, if you have an idea for a bittersweet moment, send it to us by email or voice memo. We're at bittersweetlife@mail.com. Or you can just find us at the contact page at thebittersweetlife.net. Or on all the social medias, just search for The Bittersweet Life.